All right, good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing today?
Good.
Okay, today we're going to get started. We're going to be looking at the standard you guys have been working on with your teacher in your classroom is that you guys have been working to start comparing and contrasting stories that are written by the same author, okay? So today we're looking at some specific parts of this learning goal. We're not going to look at all of it, okay? Today we are only going to focus on comparing. Does anybody know what it means to compare? Anybody know what it means to compare?
To see what's alike.
To see what's alike. So today we're only going to focus on what's alike about these two stories, okay? We're not going to look at differences today. We're only going to look at what's alike, okay?
I know what that is. It's a text structure.
Sometimes it is how the text is structured. You're absolutely right. We're also going to be looking specifically at characters. We're going to look at plots. Plots are just the events in the story, okay? So I'm going to make a little note right here. Plot is kind of a fancy word, but it just means the events in the story. And then we're also going to look at the theme. Anybody know what theme is? What's theme?
What people do.
It does have to do with what they do, but it's a little deeper than that. Yes, ma'am.
Like where they're at.
The where they're at is the setting. We're getting close.
The types of stories.
Can have to do with the type. It's the message. What do we learn from the story? What lesson do we learn from the story when we walk away from it? So we're going to really look at that because that's one of the biggest things as a third grader that you need to know is what am I supposed to take away from this story and apply to my life? What is the author trying to teach me? Okay? And we get to that by looking at all of these other things. So we're going to start. You should have a pencil and a highlighter. Can I get a thumbs up if everybody has that? Okay, great. We are going to take a look at the first story. And I have a copy right here that I'm going to read off of. And I want you to have your highlighter uncapped. And here's what you're listening for when we're reading this. We're going to read it, probably might read it more than once, okay? But for this first read, we're looking at the fox and the goat only, okay? And for the first read, while I'm reading, I want you to highlight the names of characters that you see. And I want you to highlight any hint that you see about the message. What are we supposed to learn from this story? Okay? Think you can handle that? Mm-hmm. Someone tell me, what are we highlighting? Because we're not highlighting everything. Someone tell me what we're looking for the message, and we're looking for, Lauren? The meaning? The meaning?
The events.
Not the events yet.
The names.
Names of characters, okay? So we're looking for any hint about the lesson and the names of characters. Think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're following along with me as I read. So let me see you tracking as I read. Okay, so here we go. The fox and the goat. A fox fell into a well and could not get out again. After a long time, a thirsty goat came by. The goat thought the fox had gone down to drink, so he asked if the water was good. The finest in the country, said the fox. Jump in and try it. The goat jumped in and began to drink. The fox quickly jumped on the goat's back and leaped out of the well. The goat now saw what trouble he had gotten into and begged the fox to help him out. But the fox was already on his way to the woods. If you had as much sense as you have beard, he said as he ran, you would have been more cautious about finding a way to get out again before you jumped in. Moral, look before you leap. Okay? So you should have highlighted names of characters. I'm coming around to see, do we have names of characters highlighted? And did you highlight anything that you think might hint as to what we're supposed to learn from this story?
Are we supposed to
Okay.
highlight the characters?
Highlight the names of the characters
The moral.
and anything that you think might point to the lesson. Okay? Nicely done. All right, so there's a little organizer right next to you. We're going to switch and use your pencil. Okay? There's an organizer right next to you, and we're going to use that to kind of outline some of our story elements. This is kind of called a story map. Okay? So we're going to start with the fox and the goat, and I've got one right up here so that mine is big and blown up and you can see it, and yours is going to match mine. Okay? So let's start with the characters. Raise your hand if you can tell me what are the names of the two characters in that story. Thank you for the hands, Faith. Where are our characters?
Fox and goat.
Fox and goat. Good job. So we're going to write those two names down here. Fox and goat. Do you see how I wrote mine one on top of the other? That's how I want you to write yours because we're going to need that space next to fox and goat for some more details in just a minute. So use your pencil. You're done with your highlighter for right now, so you can put a cap on there. And write fox and goat the way I wrote it on my chart, okay? So do it one above the other, because you're going to need the room next to it to add some details in just a minute, okay? Now, I really want us to get into character traits on these two characters, but in order to know how to describe a character, we got to look at what happened in the story, okay? We can't just decide what kind of character they are without looking at the events in the story. So someone tell me, what happened first in this story? What happened first? Easton, what happened first?
The fox fell in the well.
Good. Okay, and we're going to use kind of like caveman talk, okay? We're not going to write out a complete sentence because we don't have enough room for that. So we're going to kind of abbreviate our writing, okay? So I want you to do a number 1. This is the first event, okay? So you're going to need to write kind of small. So number 1, let's do fox fell in well. Okay? Fox fell in well. Really good. That's the first thing that happened. Kind of when we even, that's like the first literally 5 words of the entire story. Okay? So if you've got that written down, be looking for the second event. What happened next? So if you've got that written down, look back at your text. What happens next? Fox falls into the well. And then what? Adam, what happens next?
The fox is getting something to drink.
Okay, the goat thinks, he's just down there drinking some water, so what does he do?
The thirsty goat comes.
A thirsty goat does come by, absolutely. So let's put that. And he kind of asks the fox about the water. How's the water down there? Because that's what he thinks the fox is doing. Silly goat. Okay, so let's write, I like how Mia called him thirsty. Let's do thirsty goat comes by. Okay.
Are we going to put a dot in front of the thirsty?
Thirsty goat comes by. That's our second thing. Okay. And kind of tell me what happens next. So we got a fox falls into the well. A thirsty goat comes by, and so people are still writing. They're gonna give them some think time. Fox falls into a well. Thirsty goat comes by. Be ready to talk to me about what happens next. What are you thinking, Lacey? What happens next? We got a fox falls into a well, a thirsty goat comes by, and
The goat thought the fox had gone down to drink.
okay, so they have a conversation about the water, and
So he asked if the water was good.
okay, they have a conversation. What happens next? So we'll put combo here.
Miss Rollins.
Everybody, that's going to be our abbreviation for conversation. Put combo right there. They have a little conversation about the water. Okay, hold tight 1 second. Okay? Put combo right there. So they have a little conversation. Okay? But then what happens after that? What happens after that, Lauren?
The goat falls in the well.
Does he fall?
No.
The goat jumps in. Okay? The goat jumps into the well.
To try the water.
Because he's going to try out the water because the fox says it's really good. So let's do goat jumps in. Okay? And he jumps in. Now what, Adam?
You put the capital G in the goat.
I did. Oh, you're right. Right here? Thank you. Sorry, looking at the wrong goat. It is his name. You're absolutely right. Thank you. What happens next? Goat jumps in. Does he jump back out?
No.
No? What happens to him? Richard, what happens to the goat?
He gets stuck.
He's stuck in there, okay? And the fox
Jumps on and then jumps
uses
out.
him to get out, right? Okay, so let's do fox leaps out, and then let's do goat stuck. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? It's not a complete sentence, but we don't have room for a complete sentence, okay? Fox leaps out, goat stuck. So based off of the events in the story, we gotta decide how we're gonna describe our characters. How would you describe them? How would you describe Fox and how would you describe Goat? Someone give me a good word for Fox. How would you describe him? He falls into this well and he ends up convincing a goat to jump in and he uses him to get out.
He's nasty.
He's nasty? So what do you mean by nasty? Like not nice? So unkind? Okay, well, I could go with unkind. Okay. So this is back up in your character box. Call him unkind. I'm good with that. What's
He's
another?
tricky.
Tricky. Do you think he's smart?
No.
Yes. Yeah. He is really smart. That's a good word for that might be clever. Because clever kind of means that you're smart in a kind of sneaky kind of way. Okay? So he's tricky. So I really like the word tricky, and I'm going to build on that, Easton, and I'm going to put clever right next to it. Okay? Good words. What about goat?
He's nice.
Okay. Anybody else got a good word for goat?
He believes people.
Ooh, did he believe him really easily?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to teach you a new word. You may or may not know this word already, but this word is called gullible. Have you ever heard that word? Don't be so gullible.
I've heard of
Okay, gullible means that you're so easy to believe people. Like you fall into traps kind of easily because you just trust people all the time. Okay, so this is how you spell that word. Gullible. Because I definitely think Mia's right. That's the number one thing that I would use to describe Goat is that he just believed him. But gullible is a good word to capture that. Okay, gullible means he just automatically, just totally, just bought it. He thought there was water down there, so he jumped in. He didn't think too much about it. He just did it. Okay, that's a kiss your brain moment for sure. So here's a kiss for kissing your brain. So the goat is definitely gullible. Okay, so we've described our characters. We've described what happened in the story. Theme is the message. What are we supposed to learn from this story? Why don't you talk to people at your table first, and then we'll talk as a group. What do you think we're supposed to learn from this story? Talk to the people at your table.
Think before you do stuff.
Okay, what does that mean?
Don't trust. Yeah. Trust people that you don't
Think before you do anything.
Yeah.
Not just think. Okay, I like that. What'd you guys come up with? What does that mean?
Look before you do something.
Okay. Well, can look mean something else? Should we do something else before we do something? We should.
Think about it before you do
Yes, very good. What did you girls come up with?
Don't trust people.
Okay, so be careful who you trust. I'm good with that. Okay, so we had a couple different things. In the story, it did say moral. Okay, moral is the lesson. And it says what? Look before you leap. Okay, but what does that mean? And these two groups kind of got, all of you kind of got to a piece of it, okay? The boys back there say think before you do anything. The girls here also came to something pretty similar. Think before you act, okay? Think before you do something. And the girls over here were like, be careful who you trust, okay? So it's kind of a lesson on being careful, thinking before you do something, okay? Don't just do it, but make sure you've thought about it before you do it. Because the goat did not think, he just jumped in. And he ends up stuck in a well, okay? So under theme, here's what we're going to add. We're going to add a couple pieces of that. So I'm going to write think before doing. And then I'm going to also put be careful who you trust, because I think both of those are important. So we're adding those to your theme box. Really good thinking, guys. My phone's decided that, my watch decided that she needed to chime in on our discussion. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you a second to get that written down. Doing a good job thinking and a good job writing. Your work is very neat. I appreciate that. All right, in order to be able to compare, we have to look at two things, okay? So we have to take a look at the second story, okay? So that we have something to figure out how they're alike, we have to have two things. So we're going to switch over and we're going to look at the second story called The Wolf and the Crane. So you need to grab your highlighter, okay? This time, you guys are going to do more of the work than me, okay? I did a lot of coming up with some of this stuff, okay? So this time you guys are going to do more of it. So I'm going to read it once, and then I'm going to give you something to do. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to give you something else to do, okay? So we're going to do it in pieces, but you're going to be doing more of the work, and then you're going to help me fill in my chart to make sure my chart's right, okay? So here we go. Let's look at the wolf and the crane. And this time I want you paying attention to characters. So anything in there that as you listen, that you want to highlight about the characters, that's what you're listening for this time, okay? Here we go. The wolf and the crane. The wolf had been feasting, and a bone had stuck in his throat. He could neither get it up nor down, and of course he could not eat. So away he hurried to the crane. He was sure that she, with her long neck and bill, would be able to reach the bone and pull it out. I will reward you, said the wolf, if you pull that bone out for me. The crane was very uneasy about putting her head in a wolf's throat, but she did what the wolf asked her to do. When the wolf felt that the bone was gone, he started to walk away. But what about my reward? Said the crane. What? Snarled the wolf, whirling around. Isn't it enough that I let you take your head out of my mouth without snapping it off? The moral, expect no reward for serving the wicked. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you in your character box, with the people at your table, you can talk about this, write down the names of your characters. Okay? The names of your characters in pencil in your box. And I want you to start thinking about the first events in the story. Okay? So maybe you can write down at least the first thing that happened in the story. So write down your character names and the first event. So you talk to each other so that you're each writing down the same thing, okay? So who was in the story, putting that in the character box, and what's the first thing that happened in the story? So let me hear you talking it out. What are you guys writing down here? Okay, good. I like that. So putting that down as your first event. So that's going to go down here in your plot box. Good job. Boys, what are we writing down for the first thing that happened in the story? So, what's the first thing that happened in the story? Okay, so let's keep it short. Wolf has a bone stuck in his throat. So let's keep it simple. Richard, did you hear that one? Okay, so the wolf has a bone stuck in his throat. You're writing that as your first event in pencil. Girls, how are you doing? So you have wolf and crane. Okay, wolf has a bone stuck in his throat. Excellent. All right, I'm giving you 1 minute to wrap that up, and then I'm going to read it a second time, and you have a different goal this time, okay? Good job. All right, here we go. Second read. Here's what you're listening for this time. Second read, you're listening for the rest of the events in the story. We want to keep it simple. Let's try to keep it to about 3 or 4 events, okay? So don't get too detailed and use caveman talk because you don't have a lot of room, okay? So you're listening for the rest of the events in the story so that you can write those down with your team when you're done, okay? So here we go. I'm going to read it again, listening for the second, third, fourth thing that happens. A wolf had been feasting, and a bone had stuck in his throat. He couldn't get it neither up nor down, and of course he could not eat. So away he hurried to the crane. He was sure that she, with her long neck and bill, would be able to reach the bone and pull it out. I will reward you, said the wolf, if you pull that bone out for me. The crane was very uneasy about putting her head in a wolf's throat, but she did what the wolf asked her to do. When the wolf felt that the bone was gone, he started to walk away. But what about my reward? Called the crane. What? Snarled the wolf, whirling around. Isn't it enough that I let you take your head out of my mouth without snapping it off? All right, go ahead. I want you to finish your events. Finish your events.
I need to highlight another character.
Okay, go for it.
4.
Make sure you number your events. You got the first thing down, so go ahead and what happened second, what happened third in the story. You gotta talk it out so everybody gets the same thing written down. Angelina, y'all talk to each other, okay? So see what Lacey's writing down, y'all talk about it. So Lacey, talk to her. What do you, he can't get it out, so where's he going?
To the crane.
Okay, so let's keep it simple. He goes to the crane for help. Okay, so that you won't run out of room. He goes to the crane for help. Okay, what are you writing down for second event? What happens?
And the crane was very uneasy about food.
Okay, but wait, we gotta get to the crane first. The wolf has bones stuck in his throat. What happens? Where does he decide to go for help?
To the crane.
Yeah, so he goes to the crane for help. That's number 2. Make sure you're numbering. Okay? Can I see this for a second? I want you to add a number 1, and now we're adding a number 2. Okay? Number 1, number 2. So he goes to the crane for help. That's what we're writing down, okay? So he goes to the crane for help. Are you with me? Yeah? He goes to the crane for help. Good. Make sure you're numbering so I can see where your events are. Okay? Good. What happens next, girls? Number 3. You guys are doing great. And then okay, so crane. Does he promise it? Okay, so reward if you do it and crane does it, right? Okay, so that means what comes next. Absolutely. And keep it short. Okay? We on number 3? What are you going to write next? What happens next? So he goes to the crane for help.
With her mouth dead, and Bill would get the beast going out.
Okay, so that's why he went to her for help. So what happens once it gets there?
He tells Crane.
No, they're supposed to be talking to each other to help, okay?
He tells the crane to go out.
For a reward, right? Okay, so let's put that in there. Keep it short, okay? It's okay to talk to each other. That's how we're helping. What's our next event? Number 3. Okay, Wolf says, I'll give you a what? For doing what?
For if you get the bone stuck out of my belt.
Okay, and does the crane do it?
Yes.
Okay, and does he get a reward?
No.
Okay, so those are the next few things you need to write down. Promises a reward. Crane does it. Doesn't get a reward. Okay, so keep it really short. Okay, so that you don't run out of room. So the fox fell in the well. Okay, so Wolf, he goes to the crane for help. What happens after he goes to the crane for help? Where's your pencil? Where's your pencil? Okay. Okay. Number 3, he goes to the crane for help. What happens after he gets there? What happens after he gets there? He promises, Wolf promises a reward.
That's no promise.
Okay, let's just do Wolf.
Promise.
Good. Wolf promises a reward. I got you caught up. I need you to catch on with everybody else. Wolf promises a reward. What happens next? What happens next?
Promise. He is.
Good. Crane does it. Absolutely. Good job, Richard.
Okay,
how we doing? What you got? So we got Crane got bone out of his mouth. Wolf said he would promise to give him. Pretty much. So he doesn't get a reward at the end. So Crane does it, doesn't get a reward. Y'all have that down. Excellent. Oh, good. How we doing? Almost got your events?
I can only think of 3.
So the 4th thing, does the crane do what he asked him to do? Does he get a reward? Okay, so reading to number 4, he does what he asked him to do. Doesn't get a reward. Okay? Okay, talk about it and put it in the box if you think you already know it. Did you get that written down, Richard? Okay, Crane does it, and then what happens? Does he get a reward?
Nope.
Crane gets nothing. Okay? nothing. Crane doesn't get a reward, so do your number 5.
I thought we were supposed to do some
It's okay. So Crane does it and gets nothing. Okay? Make that 1. Yeah? Crane does it. D-O-E-S. Crane does it and gets nothing. All right, do you girls think you already know the theme? What's the message of the story? Go ahead and write that down. Okay? What do you think we're supposed to learn? Gotta talk to each other about it first. What do you think we're supposed to learn from the story? Talk to them. Excellent job, ladies. You can. You don't have to. It's nothing. Perfect. You've done exactly what you needed to do. What do you think the message is? That's your honest answer. That's. Okay, what is it?
People will
Bad people. Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. So that's what's going to go in your theme box in your outer room, Richard. So let's write it down there, okay?
or you could write them in.
So don't trust. Okay? All right, you guys have done such a great job. We're going to pull it back together because you got to help me with my chart, okay? Characters. Someone talk to me. What's going in the character box? Destiny. Wolf and Crane. Okay? We'll come back and describe them in a minute. Wolf and Crane. Main events. What'd you guys come up with? Give me the caveman talk. Angelina, what's first? Did the wolf fall in the well? That's this story over here. There's no well in this one. Wolf. What's wrong with Wolf? There's a problem.
Wolf had a bone.
Good. I'm going to abbreviate Wolf with just a capital W. Is that okay with you guys? Okay? Y'all got to be checking me, so look up here. Make sure I'm doing this right. Wolf has bone stuck. Okay? In throat. Okay? Good. What happens next? What happens next, Lauren?
Went to Crane to get bone out.
Good. Okay, Wolf goes to Crane to get it out. If you have something similar to that, give me a thumbs up. Excellent. Okay, what happens next? What happens next? Lacey.
He told Crane to pull bone for reward.
Okay, so Wolf promises a reward. Okay.
What next?
And last but not least, Adam, what happens?
The Crane does it get nothing.
Okay, so he does not get a reward.
No.
Okay, so how would you describe, back up here, how would you describe Wolf for me? Someone give me a character trait.
I know.
Based on those events, how would you describe Wolf, Easton?
Tricky, clever.
Okay, so we got some similar words here. Clever, tricky,
Bad.
okay? Do you think he was very kind?
No.
Could we use unkind like we had for Fox over here? Oh, we're already seeing those similarities. Nice job. Okay. What about Crane?
Nice to help.
Okay. He was
Happy
kind.
to help.
He was happy to help. Kind. He wasn't really happy.
He's gullible.
It used a word in there.
Gullible.
He was. I would agree with you. I definitely think he's gullible. Okay.
Like that, like goat. He only did it to get the reward.
He did it for a reward. I absolutely agree with that. It used the word uneasy. Okay. It said that he wasn't really sure about it, but he was going to do it because there was a reward. Okay.
He's kind.
But he did believe that the wolf was going to give him a reward. So kind of like the goat, he believed someone way too easily. So we're going to use that word gullible again. Okay. Now, the theme. What are we supposed to learn from this? What do you think the crane learned from this? What do you think the crane learned, Adam?
Don't trust bad people.
Don't trust bad people. He knew the wolf was bad before he stuck his head down his throat. He knew that, okay? So the theme would be, don't trust bad people. Or it could be careful who you trust. okay?
I'll put do not trust bad people.
That's fine, don't and do not, same thing, okay?
Don't.
Now, our goal for today was to find things that are alike about these two stories. So I want you to take your highlighter, okay? Take your highlighter, and I want you, with your team, look at your chart.
I'm not sure I understand.
Look at your chart. I want you to, what's similar about these two stories? Find something in the character box that's similar and highlight it, okay? Find something in the plot boxes that's similar and highlight it. Find something in the theme and highlight it. So what's similar about these two stories? So y'all take a look. Based on your characters, what could you highlight? Okay, what is similar here? Okay? Okay, good. Highlight that word gullible. Good.
Where? Okay. Both of them?
Both of them. Okay?
They're all the same words.
Oh, so you're seeing a lot of similarities. That's okay. Oops. There's my new chart. I'm going to put this over here. Okay. You have some similarities highlighted? Okay. We are going to put what you found as similarities into writing. Okay, so I'm going to give you a sheet of paper. The only thing I want you to do is put your name at the top, and I'm going to explain this whole thing to you. Okay, and we're going to walk through it together, but your chart is really going to help you do this. Okay, so just put your name at the top of this once you get it. Okay.
You want us to keep this Miss right
Mommy.
here?
I want you to keep both. Okay, I want you to keep both.
Not the first.
I'm gonna use Miss Roberts.
Okay. So you have this piece of paper and you have your name on it, just like I'm about to put my name on mine. So you put your name, and my name's on there. And I've got my chart, just like you got your chart. Okay, and that's what we're going to use for this. So we're just going to kind of put these similarities into writing. We know what they are. We just have to explain ourselves. Okay, you guys have the right things highlighted. We've had good discussion. So now we're taking our thinking and putting it into writing. So here we go. This starts by saying the fox and the goat and the wolf and the crane are alike in many ways. First of all, both stories. Someone give me a similarity. What's something we could write here, Lauren?
Fox is unkind for being clever, so is the.
Okay, so they both have main characters who are
So it's
clever and trick another character. Okay, we could write that. Someone give me something else we could write here. Adam, what else could we write here?
The crane and the goat is golden.
Both stories have a main character who is gullible and believes a tricky character too easily. I want you to choose. Choose one of those two things in your writing. I'm going to be doing mine up here, so if you need some support, you can look at mine, okay?